it's approaching the supreme moment. Reality striking closer than it seems, don't it? Go ahead, it's for the taking if you want it. If not, the dream dies and you'll be forever haunted. Then confront it.
Good morning, everyone. It's been a while since I've done one of these Extreme Z battle challenges, so I figured I'd go back into it and kind of test the waters a little bit. The main reason why I'm doing this or decided to do this is because I really needed the Zenny to, cover some of the costs with all the EZAs that happen. As all you guys know, it's pretty much like 7 units that got an EZA, all at once. So there's a lot of Zenny involved. Not that I'm necessarily hurting for it, but I rather just continue to build up instead of, the Zenny count going down. So that's pretty much, the format with that, because after stage 30, you'll continue to get Zenny. So it's a good way to recoup some of the costs that it takes to EZA all those units. So, of course, for this particular one, the free-to-play Ginyu Force team setup has the stage or event advantage. So I think that's a great option for, especially free-to-play type players to be able to use a team that is essentially a free-to-play setup. So I think in that regard, it's pretty good. The one thing I will say is things were relatively easy up until about stage 90. And upon stage 90 is when things really got a little bit difficult. It really is highly dependent on having the LR Ginyus on the first 2 rotations. Otherwise, these guys take a lot of damage outside of maybe Guldo. The rest of the guys take like at least 10,000 in damage on normal attacks and close to 30,000 or 300,000 in the super attacks from Vegeta. So it really is highly dependent on RNG. So it definitely does take a couple of resets. Like if you start off with a bad rotation, it's simply just not going to work. That's how it is. So of course, outside of that, the tech LR Ginyus, they're pretty good. The physical type LR Ginyu Force is also pretty good. Applies a pretty decent of damage, especially with the criticals. So again, it all comes down to luck at this point. And as you can see, my tech LR Ginyu is not rainbowed. I pretty much have like 2 dude paths unlocked, and that's pretty much the extent of it. I don't ever use this team really on any sort of setup. So I never really needed, the extra 2 copies to get it to, Rainbow Star status. It's not really a priority of mine, so I just kind of kept it as is. The other thing, too, is a lot of these guys, or actually most of them, if not all, don't have any levels toward evasion, so I could have made things a little bit easier had I had the Tech LR Ginyu Rainbowed, as well as, evasion levels on a couple of units. Now, the Birder unit is pretty good. Does have the dodge passive if the unit is the first attacker in the rotation. So, sometimes it kicks in, sometimes it doesn't. So, again, it really does come down to luck. But ultimately, 2 reasons why I did this. One, it's been a while since I've done one of these types of Extreme Z battle challenges. Number 2, I wanted to recoup some of the Zenny that costed to get the EZA for the 7 units. So that's pretty much the whole reasoning behind all that. So like I said, up to stage 90, things are relatively easy, and then after that, things started getting rather difficult. I'm not gonna lie, there were times I was getting frustrated because unless you get the right rotations, you pretty much will die in the first rotation, pretty much because of how much damage the rest of the units take outside of, the LRs and the Tech Guldo unit. Outside of those guys, yeah, you're looking at a lot of damage taken. So, the thing is, try to finish things off in 2 rotations. That's pretty much how this goes. And again, it's highly dependent on having the LRs in the rotation. Like, if you have Tech LR Ginyu and the physical type LR Ginyu Force on the same rotation, things are much better because they do have several links, especially if the 18 key super attack is activated with the Tech LR. Obviously, with the 18 key, provides a boost to the rest of the team as well. So, all that definitely helps. More or less, this is just for shits and giggles, honestly. I mean, it's just one of those challenges. It's been a while, like I said, I've done it, so I figured it'd be a good occasion. Like this one right here is pretty sweet. You've got, 2 tech types, and all the attacks are coming against them, so it's you're able to minimize the amount of damage taken to a certain degree. Obviously, you're still taking a pretty decent amount of damage, like 104,000, even with the Tech LR Ginyu from a super attack. So at this point, Vegeta definitely hits pretty hard. So. And the other thing to note is I did switch off here and there and used the Extreme Tech team with either Golden Frieza or Transforming Frieza as leader, and then having like a Tech LR Broly friend lead. I was able to clear a few of those stages with that setup. However, even with that, like for example, the EZA Perfect Cell Tech type unit would still get like 80,000 damage taken from a normal attack. So even in that setup, you are taking a pretty decent amount of damage. So it just, I don't know, the bottom line is it just seemed easier just taking a Ginyu Force setup and just running through the stages, because all these guys can hit for a pretty decent amount because they do get a bonus on this stage with that setup. So that's really probably the best way to go about it. Obviously, you don't have to go to this level. I mean, stopping at stage 30 is just fine. That's going to fulfill the criteria to get all the medals you need for all the units anyway. But again, just wanted to test out how things were. Honestly, that's pretty much the only reason outside of maybe wanting some Zenny. So you do get a pretty decent amount. Whatever cost it took to EZA the units pretty much got recouped, and then I had some change on top of that, so I think, in my opinion, it was definitely worth it, just to be able to, recoup some of the costs it took. So it wasn't bad. And then this rotation's pretty good too. You've got all the attacks coming against the Tech LR Ginyu, so pretty much you're going to be able to minimize to an extent of how much damage you end up receiving. So it worked out pretty well. It's very good whenever a critical or additional super attack activates. It does make life a lot easier. I've had rotations where you've got pretty much all three LRs in one rotation, and it only took one to finish off Vegeta. So ultimately, like I keep saying, it really does it's highly dependent on RNG and how your rotational setups are. So of course, in this case, I'm going to take a risk and put Birder in the first slot, even though it's probably a little bit of a risk, because the chance of him dodging, it's I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it, because sometimes he will, sometimes he won't. And if he doesn't, he'll take 100,000 in damage just from a normal super attack, or a normal attack, I mean. And we'll see if he dodges here. So he did dodge, so it does activate at times. Not all the time, but it will. And again, I think it'll be easier if, had I given some of these units levels toward evasion, but I'm a little bit biased and favorable in terms of additional attack and criticals, so I tend to lean toward that over evasion. So I think I made this a little bit more difficult than I should have, honestly. But again, this is one of those teams that I rarely use, so it's really meant for just honestly this event. Outside of this event, I've rarely used that team setup. So it's a good team. It's a lot of fun to run, but of course, when you have a bunch of other units, your decision making or team building options are a lot more versatile, and there are a lot better teams that you could certainly run. So that's really what it comes down to. So this is going to be stage 100. Pretty much, I am stopping here. I don't think I'm going to go any further. Pretty much, like I said, I've got enough Zenny. I'm not really worried about it at this point. And then, it's pretty difficult at this point. It's not like you can just blast through this. You're gonna have to retry, reset, or restart the event a couple times, because some of the rotations, like if you have Raccoon, like Birder, or even Ginyu, the Intelligence Ginyu, like you're pretty much gonna get one-shotted in one rotation. So yeah, it's a lot of trial and error, basically. You can see how much the HP gets depleted even on one rotation. So I'm guessing you guys kind of know what I'm talking about here. Alright, so got a pretty good rotation here. Hopefully Vegeta doesn't super in the first two attacks coming up. Got the 18 key super with the Tech LR Ginyu, and then another 18 key with the physical type LR Ginyu Force. So if the criticals activate, we're looking at a pretty decent amount of damage. Should be able to finish off Vegeta here and wrap things up. Alright, yeah, we should be good here. Yeah, crit for 3.4 million, so no complaints there. And yeah, like I said, I would get frustrated at times because rotations wouldn't work out and I would just get unlucky with the super attacks from Vegeta, but just glad to be done. Again, you get the Hercule statues after stage 30, so if you got time, it might be worthwhile to, you know, acquire some Zenny, recoup some of the costs it took to easy aid the 7 units. So we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. So this was the stage 100 of the Ultimate Clash edition of Extreme Z Battle. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video as always. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. All right, peace out.